I'll be switching up these devices. So let me know if I can be heard. Shout out to Judah in the chat. She said, "Why is the guy cute in the box?" Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you for those who have just joined us. My name is Luna. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. If you're new, greetings and welcome. And if you are on your way back on through, you don't know already, I'm going to check and make sure the mic and everything is good. Then we're going to get into this topic of conversation. I guess I'll just be chiming in on these relationship topics. For many years, for those who don't know, I hosted a show for about 2 years plus. It was called the Relationship Challenge. So we spoke about, it was a panel of people that rotated from week to week. And so these conversations and these podcasts, I'm like, I keep talking about the same thing. I think I needed a rest. But, I'm a chime in my thoughts to the greater population of what's going on in these here relationship situations. Again, let me know if I can be heard so we don't struggle stream early today. I have my microphone plugged in. It should be all good. Background, I did not forget today. So I'm going to run a quick little commercial and then we're going to jump into this conversation. All right, we're trying to reach a broader audience, so go ahead, like, subscribe, and share this content if you find it useful. And if you have something that you would like to talk about, specifically if you want to come on the panel, I noticed some people just be in the cut, but if you want to come on, just, let me know and I'll let you hop on as well. All right, so this particular goal, we're trying to get to, the more I say that's the goal, is the more I'm losing subscribers. But that's the tightrope that I have had to walk all of these years, is that, you can't just do anything strange for some change. You have to stay true to who you are in this journey, and those who vibe with it or those who want to engage will come along, right? So there's a fine line you have to walk in these spaces. But, to the best of my ability, I try to stay true to form because that's just who I am. But needless to say, let's go ahead and jump into this topic, right? I saw something and I don't remember where I saw it or why I didn't save it or share it, but it was this woman. You could tell that she was angry. Like you like this kind of cartoon right here, you can see like anger was just she was seething, like fire was shooting, and she was like, "Get out," and I'm thinking to myself, let's talk about it, right? Usually Get Out is in the context of the movie, where I don't know if you guys remember that movie. That was kind of wild too. But in this space, it starts like this. So let's do a scenario that we're gonna keep nice and simple. And shout out to Queen T, definitely. You guys check out the Yummy Cottage. Continue to support what it is that we're doing. You can also cash app us at $yummycottage.com if you want to support this here channel. Okay. So say the people meet, the man and the woman, they meet. Okay. And she may be more established than he is, right? He may be living somewhere, but his rent is about to come up, and they're loving it every minute. They're Netflixing and chilling. They over to the house and they have a conversation and they say, we shouldn't be having to pay two of everything. It's crazy out here. You see these gas prices. You know what I mean? Let's just go ahead. We want generational wealth. Let's go ahead and put our little ducats together, put our money together, and we can come up. Keep in mind, they may have or may not have spoken about marriage, but people speak about these things. Sometimes finances motivate people to do things they might not ordinarily do. And she convinces him and she says, "Hey man, I'm more established and you're in that apartment. Why don't you just go ahead and let it go?" And he feels like this little tingling inside, like, I don't know. And I mean, I've heard about this. And I'm seeing it from this perspective because we're talking about the man. Right now, he's the one to the left. You know what I mean? So, he doesn't really consult much of anybody about this whole conversation. He kind of feels strange. He knows some of his homeboys might possibly clown him. His parents may not be as supportive. So he makes the unilateral decision to go ahead and move in with his boo. And they're going to take a go at it together, right? Because it was more advantageous for him to move on to her turf. And I said move on to her turf because she established this household aforetime, before meeting him, before knowing him, and therefore he's moving into her space. Dun, dun, dun. So things are going along. You know, she has her little idiosyncrasies, the way she likes to see things, and he has the way he likes to see things. But the reality is, at this point, some will say he already has a leg up on her. I mean, she has a leg up on him because she's at home and he has to, quote, make himself at home. Right? So she gives him a little space in the closet. She gives him the rules of the house, and he's still not feeling like it's his, but he's already given up his apartment. So they haven't had really straightforward discussions about who's responsible for what as it relates to money, right? So she keeps paying the rent and he pays some of the incidentals. Maybe every so often he stops by the store and puts some food in the fridge, and yeah, you know, other than that, he comes at night, they cuddle, they spoon, they do all of this extracurricular stuff, right? Next thing you know, they go down the lane, she's checking his Facebook, his Instagram, all this stuff. Yeah, they did it all wrong, Judah, but that's how it's happening in these streets, right? I could do another example as well. We could do the religious route, but I'm gonna do that one in a second. Next thing you know, she's checking his Facebook, his Instagram, and she's seeing hearty eyes. She's seeing this woman being extra and friendly. She tries to stalk the homeboy about it. I said stalk, right? She stalked the homeboy. She stalked and then talked to him about it. Let him know that, hey, I don't too like what I'm seeing going on here. And he the man. His chest get a little puffed out. His voice get a little deeper. And, you know, he tried to put her in her place. The only problem is she's already in her place, literally, and he doesn't know that he still kind of has visitor status. He's not necessarily a resident yet, right? And he feels like it's ours now because you agreed, and I'm going to come to the comment section in a minute. He feels like it's ours. You agreed to this. What do you mean? What do you mean? You know, so he feels like he has the right to talk. Now, she already has in her back pocket that, hey, this is mine. This is mine. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just letting you stay here. I'm just letting you. They're not married. They're not engaged. They're shacking it up. Next thing you know, right? After much stalking and talking, she's not really appreciating how he's giving her attitude and not spooning her at night anymore and not sending her good morning text anymore because she's getting on his nerves. So he's withdrawing, right? More and more. Next thing you know, they get in an argument over the Frosted Flakes that morning. And she gets pissed and she doesn't have any more cards to throw on the table. So she yells, to the left, everything you own in the box to the left. She yells, get out. It's my house. He's in shock. Like, what? What you mean get out, sis? You know, I gave up everything. I came here. I helped you for a whole 7 months. You know, I bought food. I put it in the refrigerator. She's like, yeah, that's that. Whatever. I still paid the rent. The rent. My name is on the lease. Your name is not on the lease. So get out. He comes to social media. He makes a Instagram, Facebook post. He starts crying about the wickedness of women. And all the brothers is like, yes, I'm going to take this and put it on my YouTube page and put an infographic on there and let them know that this is what these wicked modern women are out here doing that is wrong. Y'all like my storytelling? Y'all didn't know I could get down with the storytelling. If y'all forgot, I am a writer, people. Check out the work over there at Amazon.com. Right? So then Amuna comes along. This is all hypothetical, of course. And I see it, and I'm thinking to myself, what proverb, what wisdom saying could they have applied to this situation so that they wouldn't have found themselves, namely the man, in this position? Can anybody name it for me? Name it for me, you guys. But while you're thinking about that, I'm gonna see what they're saying in the comment section. Judah's like, they did it all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. Queen T says, did we do or are we in a relationship convo? If so, what kind? So everybody's like, wait a minute. How did we get here? But a lot of times the conversation is not had. Judah says they both went into hell with gasoline draws. Hopefully not, because gasoline draws is expensive these days. What's going on, India? So what scripture came to my mind is this. Hopefully, and what happens is when we disconnect from reading, even the text, and getting some of the knowledge that's left on record, we make unnecessary mistakes. In the book of Ecclesiastes, cuss, because it's in the Apocrypha, so it's Ecclesiasticus, it's not in the regular KJV. The writer of Ecclesiasticus, I maintain that they had some salty experiences with women. I'll just say that, because some of the stuff they be saying, I'm like, yo, somebody was in their feelings. Somebody in Ecclesiasticus was in the manosphere, okay? But this particular one, it shows that it holds true, and it's not just for modern women. It says a woman, if she maintained her husband, if she is the one who he moves in with, if she is the one responsible for the major bills, if she is the one that he wholly depends on, if she maintains, one has to think that this has to do with financially, and she shoulders the burden. It says is full of anger. That means if she's in this position, if she's made to be like unto the men, this is what you can expect, brothers. This has nothing to do with modern women, not according to this ancient text. Not according to the ancient text. It says she is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. Anger, the angry woman. She's always angry. She's bickering. If you come home and you're not working, if she comes home and you sitting around and you playing games and she's paying the bills, she's going to be angry. So this is telling you that this has something to do with the nature of a woman, right? And how when she maintains the man, that is out of order. Impudence and much reproach. Let's look up the word impudence. But now, hopefully I didn't leave you guys, because I'm looking for, oh, here you go. Let's look up the word impudence. No? Let's look up that word. It already told us what would happen. So even in this scenario, the guy, what could he have done differently? But before we do that, let's get to impudent. So not only is the woman going to be angry in most cases, we look at the word not showing due respect. What the man says oftentimes that respect, they desire respect more than love. Isn't that what we hear? That the man requires respect more than love. If she maintains you, brother, if she is the one who's minding you, as they say, if she is the one who's paying, she's not going to respect you. That's what the writer of Ecclesiasticus said in 25 and 22. And much reproach means she's going to scorn you. So when she's singing to the left, everything you own in the box to the left, that's not modern woman conversation. She's going to use her mouth. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, according to the text, that's what's going to happen. Reproach, an expression of a rebuke or disapproval, like the Scrub song. Right? Like, I don't want no scrub. All of this conversation is not just about using your mouth to it's about essentially how the woman, the expectations that the woman has of the masculine principle. And when we are not operating in our principle, right? When we're not operating in our design, it causes problems in the mind and in the spirit. It causes a level of dissonance. And then even though she wants to, like I saw the other day, a woman proposing to a dude. Everybody's like, what the backside are you doing? What are you doing, ma'am? But she may be tired of waiting. The man is out of his position. She's out of her position. And she's taking it upon herself to do that which is the man's responsibility to do. This is where we are today, right? So how did the man get to be homeless. More often than not, there's only one of two places he's going to end up after this particular situation happens. Either he's going to end up in another relationship, rebound relationship, so he'll have somewhere to stay, and that continues a downward spiral, or he's going to go back to a family or a friend or a mother or someone so that he can catch his footing. Why? Because he did not establish himself as a man. He went under the premise that, the world is changing and women are changing. They ain't changed that much. The other flip side, I'm not going to go to the flip side yet. Let me know your thoughts on that, on this part right here. Let me tell you how mad brothers get when the script is slapped bareface onto the, you're going to get upset, because the reality is, even in cultural spaces and religious spaces, you have men moving in with women and then establishing themselves as the man of the house in a house that they didn't establish, which creates a problem in the mind, because it's not his house. She's providing, she's buying his Bible books off of Amazon, right? He got a wish list on Amazon. She's going to work. He's cocked up at home, using the internet that she's paying for to go online to teach the people, quote unquote, right? She's sustaining and funding his whole lifestyle. And then he's establishing himself as the man of the house when he's not taking any financial responsibilities and other things. This creates an imbalance, right? This is what's happening oftentimes in this space and time. And when you have these conversations, you want to just say how wicked the woman is. Yeah, the woman is out of pocket, but the whole conversation was out of pocket from the very beginning. Now, some would say the same thing can happen on the other side, where she leaves her house and then she goes to his house, right? And he has the same ability to ultimately say, you need to get out. And I think to a certain degree, after so much time of the woman being vulnerable in this position financially and otherwise, she doesn't want to give up that leverage, because historically she has been the one with the short end of the stick. And some people will say, well, why don't they both leave their prior dwellings and put together, go in on something so that they can move in together and each person be on equal footing? That would just have to be up to them. But this conversation is about how he ends up having to get out. He's resting in his feminine. Yeah, he's resting in his femininity. Also, what has happened historically is that some of the males and men are tired. In the same way the woman is tired, it is the same way the man is tired, right? So if he comes into, and it's funny, but it's not, where, all of this is often expected of him. And it is, to work, to provide, to do what you need to do as a man, to do this, to do that. And you have somebody saying rest, even though intrinsically, it's like a parent knowing intrinsically that you should not put this workload. And again, men and women are not children, but in the same way that you should not put your workload on a young child, some parents will put their workload on a young child because the young child insists, even though they don't know that this is beyond your capacity to maintain. Oh, because you insist, the parent is going to take you up on that offer. So you may have some men in this space and time like, oh, you modern, oh, you want to go out into the work, I'm going to let you do it. And so he sits cocked up, resting in his femininity, playing video games, playing church on the computer, while she is out there working. Eventually, the scripture tells you what she will become. She will become angry, full of anger, impudent, and full of reproach. That's what she will have towards him. And then they say the relationship is going downhill. I wonder why. Every time she comes in and sees you just resting in your femininity, she's going to be in her feelings. Every time there's something to be done around the house that you haven't done, that you haven't fixed, that you haven't taken out because you over there playing video games and Madden and all this stuff, she's going to be in her feelings. Every time that she comes in and then there is work to be done with the children or just the overall house and you're not pitching in, she's going to be in her feelings. And your relationship is going to begin to suffer because it already started off out of balance. That's what I got on that one. Let me know your thoughts. Everyone has a different idea of relationship and boundaries, so that has to be discussed in the smaller scale. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. These things are not being discussed because you have people getting into relationships based on feelings. I like this person. They Instagram is thing. Next thing you know, what happened? We put the cart before the horse, and you have to be retroactively talking about things that you've already taken the leaps and bounds to really get into. Yesterday, I don't know how I got over there. It hasn't been a while since I watched Paternity Court. Was it? It was Paternity Court. I was praying for these people, and I was literally like, I pray. So essentially, this is what I'm talking about when I say people. Sometimes we run ahead. This guy meets a girl through a mutual friend. All of a sudden they click. All of a sudden they became intimate. They're like, oh, I felt like I knew you 1,000 lifetimes. You know, we should be together forever. Me and you will never part. Mikey Dada. They was doing the Color Purple and everything. Okay. Next thing you know, the girl goes to a family reunion or cookout, whatever it may have you. When she arrives at this cookout, one of the family members, she said the family members was looking at her weird, like, one of the family members was like, hey, come here real quick. She's like, that brother right there look real familiar. I think he might be your brother. And she's like, huh? What? Because their father was irresponsible. I think that's a whole nother conversation, but the father he was a little liberal with his seed planting. He was liberal, let's say that. He was a truck driver, and he was Johnny Appleseeding the whole of the truck route. Okay, so he had many children in different places outside of the main set of children that he had. Yeah, paternity court, right? And so she now is basically, her stomach is in knots. It's crazy. She's like, I can't believe this. The guy is like, I can't believe this. But now they have already intertwined themselves because they put the cart before the horse. They've already intertwined themselves in such a way that it's difficult to think of not being with the person, and also the fact that the person may potentially be your brother or half brother, however you want to put it. So this is what lands them into paternity court. But if she had taken the brother, like Lucy Ann Dunn, had they had taken time, had she and him been exposed to family members before they did the do, then this question would have already been explored, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't have been such a catastrophic thing to potentially think that you defiled yourself with your half brother. You understand what I'm saying? So they end up in paternity court, and I'm over here like, I pray they are not relatives. This is disgusting, yo. Okay, this is terrible. Needless to say, even the judge was shook up. She was like, I ain't never seen no stuff like this. Your pops was a wild dude. Who knew? He even looked like the father, anything. Anyway, long story short, at the end of the day, it wasn't her brother, and she was both of them were relieved. But it goes to show you how we get ourselves in hot water because we don't follow the sequence of events. We don't follow a certain process because we're grown. We don't have to. We follow our feelings, and then when we get into problems, now we want to backtrack, and we want to come on YouTube. We want to give half the story. We want to be out here pretending like we couldn't have done things better. Like we couldn't have made other choices. You understand what I'm saying? So hopefully in all of this relationship conversation that people have, I'm going to put the little link. I'm not going to stay too long. There needs to be some accountability, not just on just trying to hold other people accountable for what it is you feel they did or didn't do or should have done, but to hold ourselves accountable for saying, you know what, that was out of order. Had I had taken my time to do X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't be in the predicament that I am. And I wouldn't have to wholly be pointing the finger at the other party because I played a role in this, right? A lot of that conversation is not really being had, but okay. Let me see something right here. My friend keeps doing this. I advised him twice against moving in with his lady. First instance, she put him out. Second instance, the woman left. Yep. You saw that one, Queen T? That one was crazy. Deranged. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You have some men who find themselves in these situations because they keep putting themselves in these situations. And a lot of times, I think it has to do with the inability. Men and women do it, but right now we talk about the brothers, because he's in the box. It's an inability to be alone. It's an inability to sit in your failures to a certain degree, to recalibrate, to uh, do what needs to be done so that you can establish yourself and become the healthiest version of yourself. So what happens is you move from one person to thinking, oh, it was that person, it wasn't me, I did everything right and it was them. So you go to another person hoping that it will change in much the same way, right? And then the same thing happens again. So when you see some of these brothers in these positions, they put themselves there. Because what man is going to leave his house, right, and go to the woman's house? It says, even in the New Testament, it says that Jay said he was going to go to prepare a place before you. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was going to go to prepare a place. I mean, historically, the man is supposed to prepare the place because he's the one who's taking, like we were speaking about yesterday, he's the one who's bringing someone on to assist him. So how is it that the boss is over at, what's that? How is it that the boss is coming to his, quote, for lack of a better word, employee and shacking up over there talking about, yeah, let's get started? Nah, bruh. What are you doing? If you're going into business together, right, and both of you have that understanding, then you establish something new. But oftentimes when you go into somebody else's space, on somebody else's turf, if they're that type of person, they're going to take it to the get out. They're going to take it to the get out. Especially if they feel they're losing control in the situation. Right? So that's just my thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on the get out. Who is at fault? How did this man get himself in this position? Should he have trusted the woman? I mean, again, like I said, historically, this has been the case of the woman. She leaves everything. She leaves her mother and father. She goes into the situation trusting him. And the same way the man is in a vulnerable position, she's in a vulnerable position. Right? And this is why, if you look historically at divorces and what, even in the Hebrew, what the word means, it means to drive out. Right? To drive the person out. There's another part that talks about cutting off, but the driving the person out, this person usually is not prepared for this action. They didn't have plans. If she left her house and go to your house, sometimes you can hold on to her children. There was no family courts back in these times. It will push her into destitution or prostitution or into some other compromising situation because she had nowhere to go. Right? And when I talk about the pendulum swinging, we're seeing the men who are resting in their femininity, not all in the same positions that women were in 100, 200, 300 years ago. Right? This is how you know that the energetic shift has gone all the way to the other side, and men now are having very feminine experiences. And this is what, to me, a lot of people are like, even though it's abusive on both sides. But we didn't see it was abusive oftentimes because it was happening to the woman. But now that it's happening to the man, we're like, this is wrong. This is out of pocket. It's wrong on both sides. It's wrong when it's happening to the women, and it's wrong when it's happening to the man. But sometimes we don't know. Who feels it knows it. We don't accept that it's wrong until it has happened to us. Right? Until the shoe is on the other foot. And then all of a sudden, let's hold 50 million live stream videos about how this is terrible and wrong. But when she was marching, when she was at church praying, when they was having intercession meetings, it wasn't wrong. It was just the way it is. So hopefully this will open up that conversation of us being honest about displacing people, men or women, is wrong. The way in which we use things to try to control others in a narrative is also wrong. Let's just talk about right and wrong, period, not right and wrong being subject to if it's a man or if it's a woman. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I have let me put it right here. Let me run a quick little commercial real quick. Has this happened to you or to someone that you know? Let's do a Maury thing. Has this happened to you or someone that you know? Did they move in with a loved one and end up homeless? How long did it take them to get their life together before they were able to trust again? this also affects the way the next person engages in relationships, right? How much they trust you, how much they're willing to, it affects a whole lot of things. So essentially, we pretend like our behaviors have nothing to do with the person behind us, but we do actually jack up people, and people jack us up for what in this day and time is the next person. Historically, it wasn't like, you weren't really supposed to be mate hopping over here, and then it didn't work out, so I'm over there, and then it didn't work out. That wasn't really the plan, but that's kind of where we at right now, right? The whole mate hopping and mate switching conversation. And so, people are doing this, and it's making it harder and harder. So people wonder why can't we be together as long as our foreparents used to be together? One of those issues is this. This is my observation. Before I go there, Judah says, I was in my early 20s and let a guy, Judah, you let Tyrone move in? Because he fell on hard times. He tried to mommy me. I booted him out so fast. What do you mean by he tried to mommy you? He had expectations like you should cook his food, you should wash his drawers. Like, what do you mean by that? And because women are oftentimes inclined towards the man, she doesn't want to see him hurting, contrary to popular belief. She doesn't want to see him hurting. She wants to help him. Oftentimes, if you help somebody, especially a male in a certain position, sometimes you get repaid evil for good, right? His name was Taquan. Tyrone. Sometimes you get repaid evil for good. So you meant it for good, but you get repaid. You don't get repaid in like kind. Why? Because if you saw him at his most vulnerable position, and oftentimes men don't want you to see them when they're vulnerable in that respect, right? They don't want you to, because then you have that to a certain degree to hand over his head. Like, I remember when you and sometimes women don't understand when you build him up, not all the time, but when you build him up from that weaker position, he's gonna get somebody who doesn't have that to hold over his head, because she wasn't there. She didn't see that. You did. So when he gets too big for his britches, right, in your eyes, in your mind, and you be like, remember I was there when da-da-da-da-da. That eats away to a certain degree at the respect that you have for him. And so he goes off to find somebody who's oblivious, who has no idea that that's where he's coming from. And sometimes the woman thinks, that's a level of ingratitude, but he's to a certain degree securing his own need to be the man. Let me know if I'm tripping out here, y'all. I don't usually go in this situation a lot. I listen to a lot of people speak, and I'm like, yeah, no. Okay, Queen T says, when I met my husband, I was building my home. We lived in an apartment, and I remember Katrina. After coming back to the city, my husband worked on the river in Lake Charles, and then came back to the city and moved in. Okay. How did that go? It has been conflicts, but 16 years later, it's okay. But it still comes out at times. See? You see? I ain't out here making this up. They remember this kind of stuff. Yeah. They remember this kind of stuff. He thought you was going to take care of him. You know what that reminds me of? The guy right now, Muhammad, coming out of Egypt. Muhammad gonna roll up to the lady Eve, that's her name, the lady in Arizona, I believe it is. Hold on 1 second, somebody's rolling up. Hello. Yes, I'm closed at the minute. Okay, that's okay. What are you?
I'm seeing if you had a to-go menu, but that's okay.
Okay, are you living around here?
Yeah, I'll come by tomorrow. No worries.
Yeah. So what was I gonna say? Lady threw me off. Oh yeah. So Muhammad, he was like, oh, my mother cook and clean, she washed my clothes and iron my drawers, and Eve needs to do the same. Muhammad has he doesn't even have a green card. Homie cannot work. He's not a permanent resident, but he has expectations on the woman based on the precedent that his mother set. So sometimes, not all the time, men want the woman to replace the mother. In the same way, Isaac was comforted about his mother Sarah when Rebecca came. right? Remember, they went to go get a servant. I'm talking the Bible now. In the book of Genesis, Eliezer goes to get Rebecca, brings her back. Isaac is what? Mourning the death of his mother, and he's comforted. And the woman comes into this space. So a lot of times, if there's not a major injury there, or if there's a certain precedent there, the man is going to look for the woman to remind him of or do the things that his mother did, plus some, right? So this guy, Judah, is saying, wanting her to buy his clothes. Again, the mic is open, y'all. What time is it? 35. She wanted the food, the shoes, stuff for his children. Wow. So he had some high hopes. High hopes. He had high hopes. He wanted a lot going on. Where are these expectations coming from? I also saw a video yesterday on TikTok. I was not saving anything yesterday. My phone is at full capacity, y'all. But there was a video where the stepfather was in the home, and he's telling this, I think the guy has to be like 29. The guy is old. And he's telling him, which is the son of the woman he's with, that, you a man now. You got to go stand up on your own 2 feet. And the mother's like, he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere till he ready. If anybody going to leave, it's you. So the guy's like, I'm paying bills, and he's the grown behind man, and he needs to go. So the mother's like, no, he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Who's catching this on TikTok? Who's putting this out there? First of all, this seems like you guys need to be having a conversation. But secondly, that son, that level of entitlement was the Tyrone possibly that Judah ended up with when she was younger, in the sense of, because the mother goes above and beyond to self-sacrificing for his needs, his thought is that the woman that he's with, he's entitled to all of that as well, without having to, do anything. There's nothing, she said, there's nothing required of him. He doesn't have to pay anything. She wants him to keep all of his money, right? So if that's the precedent that the mother sets, and when the woman comes unknowingly, because she may not know the mother, she's not around the family, she don't know nothing about these people, and she see him on Instagram and he slide in the DM, next thing you know, what you doing? I'm chilling. They having a whole conversation, I'm trying to get out of here. We could do this together, Bonnie and Clyde, all this other stuff. Next, he moves in, and bam, he drops it on you. And then you guys start fighting over his expectations of you that you are not meeting. Yeah. So that's some conversation that I have for you guys today. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to try to come a little later and do more of the Marvin Gaye conversation. Let me know if you enjoy these relationship topics. Like I said, I've lived a little. I've lived a little, watched a little, learned a little, researched a little. Some of these people out here setting the populace up for the okie doke. Some of these people out here advising people to be just as lonely as they are, just as unhealed as they are. When people, you don't see people when they log off the computer, whether or not while they're talking to you, they got a whole, rum and coke over there stirring it up and drinking themselves to sleep. You have no idea after they finish poisoning the well, what type of self-medication they have to be into to sleep through the night. So some of these people that's giving advice on relationships, they're not giving it because it's coming from a purely altruistic space, right? So hopefully we take that to heart and mind and understand that it's a process. Brothers, if you are on the verge of this is especially for the younger youths. Don't do it. Don't do it. You understand what I'm saying to you? Do not do it. Stay humble. Work on yourself. Work on establishing, your own place. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, it sounds good and all, but remember, I'm going to leave you with this. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. But check it out. I just thought of this. If it says if she maintain her husband, how much more anger, impudence, and reproach will she have if she maintains some Instagram hottie, some dude who she can't even go to the streets and say she married. She have no ring, right? Y'all just trying to see what happens. How much more anger will she have after 10 years of doing this in hopes that you will make her a quote honest woman, end quote? How much more disrespect will you receive when you no longer respect her and she no longer respects you, and she's been the one who's been making sure that you float? And as a man, oftentimes to not know that you can make it on your own affects your ego. It affects your self-esteem. It affects your manhood, and that comes out in the way in which you're then going to interface with the woman. Tell me I'm lying, y'all. Tell me I'm lying. We are messing with the very, in my humble opinion, the very essence, the very core of our humanity. And we're moving wires around that we do not know what the long-term effects of these things are, because we're like, oh, I think if I put the yellow one over here, y'all stop messing around. Stop messing around under the hood. There's certain things that's there, those are structural. I watch a lot of rehab shows. When the expert comes in, and they're saying maybe we could knock out this wall, and then we could make it an open floor concept, and da 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 da. And the structural person, the professional, the contractor comes in and be like, nah, this is a load bearing wall here. You're not gonna be right. They know that you can get away with but so much, and there's certain things that you cannot touch. Otherwise, you're going to compromise the integrity of the structure. Certain things that you cannot touch is the essence, the design. You can't touch it without compromise, right? The design of the male and the design of the female, and what they were purposed to do and be, and how they operate optimally, how you're going to get the best out of these two entities is not the way in which we're going about it. Right now, we're messing with the very core of who we are. And that's why we're getting these jacked up results. This is why we're getting these jacked up results. Because we think we know better. We think we know better. So we're like, nah, see what happened is, yes, sis, I know you want to. And sometimes we have to. But if you want the male in the picture, you cannot make him to feel as though he has no value. That has nothing to do with mammyism 101. It has nothing to do with pick-meism. It has everything to do with the design and what makes, if you're grown up, if the male was growing up in the masculine energy, is what makes him incentivized, is what makes him tick. He has to be incentivized to protect you. He has to be incentivized to provide for you. If he's not incentivized, he ain't gonna wanna do it. No matter how much you try to cajole him, no matter how much you browbeat him, no matter how much you make your 50-umpteen TikTok videos, he is not going to want to do it, boo. Because that's not how them work. That's not how they're wired. Yeah? I'm tripping or I'm not tripping, y'all? Welcome to those who just joined us. Welcome to the conversation. Like I said, I don't see nothing going on here. Let me check my back. Let me check my back real quick. I don't see nothing going on. I'm gonna go ahead and wind down. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We say, Mona, how you know so much, man? You know how many brothers and males I grew up around? If I know, some of these people talking, I'd be like, okay, okay. Judah says, and that's why I'm choosing to be single. Until I see value in a man, I will not try to be with him. He needs that from me. Yeah, he does. He needs to feel valuable. And not just in the way in which you gas his head up and be like, yeah, boo. No. Not only does he need to feel valuable, he also needs to be of value. See, there's the next side to that. Like, he can't just be, for lack of a better word, workless and not able to do anything. Not able to bring rest to her mind. He can't fix a doorknob and, his baffan. In this day and time, I hear some people say, oh, she's 20-something and she can't cook. Bruh, you 20-something and you can't build. There's something called YouTube University. The beauty of life is we can all learn. Just because you're 24 and you can't cook doesn't disqualify you as being wife material. If you want to learn, everything is at your fingertips. In the same way, a young man who doesn't know how to do certain things, that doesn't disqualify him from being a husband. What it does is gives him an opportunity to learn these things so that if and when he does become one, he's better equipped to be the one. If she comes to you around the house and you can't fix anything, it's going to be hard for her to value you when you're not showing yourself valuable. And I'm not just saying it's only in the things that we do, but it has a part to play. It has a part to play. You know what I mean? It has a part to play in how it is that we respect one another. It does. I don't, if I go to a store or if I go to the mechanic and the mechanic don't know what he's doing, he poking around, he messing around, he blowing smoke, and he don't fix anything, I'm gonna be upset. So if the husband is supposed to protect and he's supposed to provide and he's supposed to take off certain stresses off the mind, and he doesn't do any of these things, he never know if it's day or night, it's going to be hard to respect the person. In the same way, if the woman has responsibilities that she's supposed to do and she does not do these things, and eating out and picking from the menu every night is not, after a while, depends on the man that you have. Maybe it's because I come from some Caribbean space where this is a huge thing, but I know it's a huge thing in different parts of the world, man. It's not going to be something that long term the man is going to respect. Yeah, or afford someone to fix it. Correct. If you can't fix it, you got to know somebody who can. If you cannot fix it, please go and find somebody who can. You understand what I'm saying? But these are the conversations that a lot of these people that are talking, I don't really hear. It's you need to and then Anywho, peoples, what time is it? 47 minutes in. I'm gonna go ahead and wind down. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Play my little like, subscribe video real quick. Hold on.
I've been watching you, watching me, and I know you want to like, subscribe, and comment.
No, I'm playing, but for real, like, subscribe, and comment. Join the conversation. You don't know. All right. With that said, everybody have a blessed day. Put your comments in the box below. Did it happen to you? A brother, a cousin, your father? You know what I'm saying? Your uncle? Do they like just moving in with woman? Let the woman pay for everything? Has they suffered any abuses because of this choice? Right? Let us know in the comment section below. Everybody have a blessed day.